Hello and welcome to another LEGO Death Star MOC vlog, and in today's episode I will be speaking about the construction of the Death Star, and not as much as how did I actually build this thing, but more so the backstory and reference from different source materials on the origins of the Death Star. So as you see right now, there is the first source material reference, which was the Star Wars novel. It's Tarkin by James Luciano, which is a novel about the start of Moff Tarkin working on the Death Star, and at the same time he's tracking down some terrorists with Darth Vader. Always interesting how the Empire would see them as terrorists and everyone else would see them as freedom fighters. Funny how that always turns out. And there's also bit of flashback to Tarkin's upbringing on Eridu, and it references basically the start of the Death Star construction, so it kind of adds to here. The big takeaway is that the sections were being built modularly from different areas in the kind of that part of the solar system, and then they would be transported to the location above Geonosis to work on the Death Star. And the second novel is a Catalyst, a Rogue One novel, which is also written by James Luciano, which is the story of Galen Erso and Orson Krennic. And it's really the relationship of Krennic recruiting Erso to help create the super laser, but unbeknownst to him, he's actually building the Death Star. And then when they find that out, they flee Coruscant. At the same time, Tarkin is in the novel, and it helps establish the rivalry between Tarkin and Krennic. So again, it's just really the referencing of the creation of the Death Star. They speak of when Krennic was having conversations with Pogo the Lesser, the Geonosian leader, to have the Geonosians help create and build it. So to show a different aspect, here is the Imperial landing craft. This was set 75221. It came out in 2018. There was another version that came out before that, and that was a lot older, not as detailed. That came out in 2007. So this was the newer release. 2018 came out, and I picked it up as soon as I could. Not a lot of alterations to it. I mean, it was a pretty good build. I quite liked it. I just included that there is the ramp at the front, because that is where they do come out when I'm referencing an episode of Star Wars Rebels when Grand Moff Tarkin pays a visit to Lothal. And what he does is he arrives in the Imperial landing craft. So unlike Vader and Emperor Palpatine, who take the Lamba, more luxurious looking shuttle, this is a troop transport, so kind of speaks to Grand Moff Tarkin, how he's views himself more as an officer than the governor. While he certainly has the rank of governor, he governed his region. He interchangeably is called Governor Tarkin, Grand Moff Tarkin, but he's certainly military in his history, which comes from those two books that we spoke about. In any event, I wanted to include this because that is one of the shuttles that would be coming in, so just kind of gives an idea of the different vehicles that I've included in the Death Star as well. And this is kind of just the different scenes that aren't really referenced in the actual movies, but they're important. I kind of try to look at, what would be the pipe rooms. I played some Star Wars Battlefront that had the Death Star. And this was just a room. Its main purpose was I needed a space for, if you look in the top right corner, you can see where there's some of the mechanisms. But I had some empty space here. So this was kind of like the command build room. Right now we have an Ugnaught enjoying coffee and donut as they look over the plans, and they have their different droids ready. We have some Gonk droids, one of my personal favorites. More so because it's the only Star Wars action figure I have left from my childhood. And then there's an Imperial astromech with the clear tops, which is pretty awesome. This spot is just basically kind of a pipe room. Like I said, it's just meant to serve where some auxiliary people, the ones who work on the Death Star, would go. Yeah, as you can see in the back, there is also that the clear plate that came with the junior set TIE fighters, which I have used as well in this build because I needed TIE fighters, and they're actually pretty decent because you can hold them, you're not going to break them, they're not as big as the other ones, and Yeah, it kind of works out. So that is the one spot. Now, geographically, it's right above where my power pack is for the light system. And here's another room that is not actually seen in the movie. So while I try to go with canon as much as I could, this is another room that I more or less, it's the section right below the docking bay. There's the ramp you can see in the far back. It has the mechanism where you could turn it. I've just basically used the style they did with the Death Star build, the Lego Death Star, where it more or less just uses a crank system to pull that up and down. No motorized parts in the Death Star yet. Just that would be way too much money. I think I've spent enough already. But instead of using string, I've used fishing line. So that's a non-Lego part. Fair enough. So are the lights, so it is what it is. But this is more or less where you would kind of have different auxiliary pieces. There you have some crates with the kyber crystals that you'd see from Rogue One. We have some droids. You can also see some Imperial probe droids. And there is the doorway, which basically kind of goes between each room. So you could go to where the Ugnaught was having coffee. And that leads to that docking bay section. And right there is another view from when it is in the, I guess it's the air chamber. So you can kind of see through it. So it gives you kind of a perspective of the auxiliary rooms. This is where they're putting kyber crystals, like I said. Not in the movie, but part of the Death Star, because they serve the functionality of allowing me to have that drop zone, that kind of that shaft in the docking bay, which is pretty important and iconic from the Death Star, and that way I can store things and stuff like that, droids, etc. And so what we have here is a room that is under construction. So it was a little spot of the Death Star. It was a smaller spot, as you can see there, not very big, 12 by 10. So you can't really put a lot of good vignettes in there, and I thought maybe that would be where droid maintenance could be. But what I kind of thought of is, hey, maybe it's under construction. The Death Star was always under construction for many years. And since then, my son has taken a fancy to it. That's one of his favorite characters. He pretends he's the maintenance guy, goes around and, fixes things. So that's his room in the Death Star. So it stays. So maybe one day I can, make it a little bit different under construction, or maybe it's a full-fledged room. But for as it stands, it will be always the under construction section. And I swap it out there. Can put the Ugnaught in there too. So I like it. It stays. So that's the other part of the room. But there you go. You have one of those Death Star technicians working, and you can see some Lego lights, original, like the actual Lego lights. And yeah, it works. I'll better explain the whole in the whole takeaway video. And here is the video of all the different sections I just showed. And here we are in kind of this pipe control room. We have the Ugnaught Quill enjoying coffee and a donut with his counterpart. And like I said, the really awesome looking astromech droids with the clear tops. So thanks again for that Bricklink store. Some Gonk droids, one of my personal favorites. The reason for this kind of being a pipe room is the mechanism that I have kind of over here. There's just a crank function. It allows the load lifter to go up into the docking bay. So here we have what would be Grand Moff Tarkin's troop dropship there. Of course, whenever they land back end first, and Lego tends to make the back end not as detailed as the front end. But that leads down there, and it's the simple functionality that they had in the original Death Star. I like the idea. Perhaps in version 2.0 or 3.0, I will actually have mechanics in the Death Star, but that would be something down the line. So again, this is just showing you the different spots. This was just kind of some dead zones, so I had to come up with some things. I really wanted this functionality to happen. So again, most of the rooms are right from source material. So this was a bit of my own creation and in design. But right there, you can see the power button. So if you just bear with me as I switch my hand. Simple black button, turns on all the lights, turns it off. This is again from the company that I buy my lights from, and you simply slide this open And here we just kind of aim that down. And then from in here is where the power pack is. It's a simple 3 AA batteries right there. And you flip it on, flip it off, but this actually allows for a switch to control the lights. So this is just, again, a simple box. Put it all red. Could have went detailed, but figured, you know what, structurally sound is better in that spot because it's at the bottom. So there you go. There is the kind of control pipe room with all the different details. There is the load, the docking bay load room. It is high enough to have the actual tank that those came from. I have it over on one of my shelves. And then if we're just panning out again, you can see there is the docking bay, the docking bay. There's some of the controls that we didn't speak about today, but what I really want to do is get to the sides. We have some hallways, and there was this, again, this spot. I didn't really have an idea. So what I did is I thought maybe a place under construction. So there it is in correlation to things. There's actually a little spot for the mouse droids that I really like, and then that leads into another hallway, which circles back to the docking bay. So that's where eventually you'll see the duel occur. But there is kind of this, I figured maybe make it under construction. And my son has been playing with his construction guy. He kind of thinks this is a fun spot from the park. And as I described before, there's the battle damage from real play. And I've simply just put up some barriers to stop anyone else from falling into the Death Star and getting hurt. Or more so, falling into the Death Star and getting lost. So that is it for this episode. Thank you for watching. Again, leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay safe.